In the 1980s, England's dominance of European club football had an ugly side effect: the English disease, football hooliganism. Mayhem and madness followed teams throughout the continent and dramatically led to a date with death in Belgium, when 39 people died.
The lead up to the Heysel Stadium disaster had been a time when English, particularly English football hooliganism, appeared to be out of control. When English clubs went onto the continent, they would demolish not just towns, but whole principalities. I think Luxembourg disappeared from the map after England played there.
Liverpool had beaten Rome in '84, and the Roma fans had started stabbing them really badly after the game. You had the trick at the time was to go around on scooters with a razor and just slash them across the back of the legs. So when they went back for Juventus in '85, they had a different attitude. Their attitude was, we're not going to let that happen again. They were actually prepared for trouble, which they hadn't been the year before.
There was history between the two sets of supporters because of the events in Rome at the European Cup final the year before. The Rome fans had attacked Liverpool fans in alleyways. Friends of my parents who'd been to pick up tickets had been pelted with stones as they went up to the ticket office. There was chaos. There was a lot of atmosphere between Italian fans and Liverpool fans. So going into the game, the police and UEFA knew that there was a chance that there was going to be trouble.
Heysel Stadium was typical of football stadiums at the time, in that nobody put any thought into health and safety issues. Nobody thought about emergency exits. It was a crumbling, I think possibly even pre-war, old cycle track that they'd used for football as well. And the Liverpool fans had been drinking all day in Brussels and came into the stadium and shared an end with the Juve fans. And in those days, there would just be a little gap with a few policemen in between. And the Liverpool fans, as was customary, mounted a charge, and the Juventus fans ran away. But there was nowhere for them to run. There were no exits for them to get away from. And they collided with a wall and just piled on top of one another. The wall collapsed, and 30 people were killed.
Liverpool fans say they were attacked, they would say they were bombarded with objects, and they fought back, and the tragedy happened. But if you look at that footage now, you actually see some of those Juventus fans. One of them's got the scarf over his face, he's got a gun in his hand. Now, I don't know whether it's a starting pistol, but that's how serious it was. And the temptation is always to blame the English fans for everything that happens abroad. And what people don't realise is that we exported football hooliganism, and now they all want a piece of the English fans.
No matter what the provocation, there's no excuse for rioting, and there's no excuse for hooliganism, and they should have been punished. But nothing was done to prevent it, and afterwards nothing was done to make sure that anybody took any responsibility. Because once you say hooliganism, it removes the responsibility on the authorities to take any kind of action to sort out what they did wrong and what they could have changed.
When the wall collapsed, a total of 39 people were killed. But in bizarre circumstances, the cup final went ahead. Liverpool lost 1-0.
It was a night when a good reputation was ruined. Liverpool fans have always been generally well behaved. Now they returned home to the news that more than 40 people had died, and they were bearing much of the blame.
What sparked the violence?
The Scousers, you've got to say it.
They were getting sorted though, weren't they? They were getting sorted like by all the, the Italian fans like that.
Would you say it was the Liverpool fans that started it?
Yeah,
they started running over at the moment.
Shame to say, like, you've got to say.
I wish we could get those responsible, get them before a court, and stiff sentences so that they stop anyone else.
Margaret Thatcher had come out and said, it's all to do with Liverpool Football Club, and Liverpool fans are hooligans, and without taking any real interest or having any particular knowledge of the situation or anything that had gone on. There was never any inquiry or any kind of investigation into what happened. So when the Prime Minister of the country comes out and makes such strong statements, then obviously FIFA are going to go with that, and they're going to have to take action. They have to take action. There were appalling scenes. They have to do something about it.
It's clear that UEFA are now determined and ready to rid soccer of its violence and hooligans. And it's now feared, as far as Liverpool Football Club is concerned, they will be dealt with very harshly when UEFA's disciplinary committee meets.
UEFA just decided enough is enough. People were now dying. This was no longer a case of a few bruised ribs and the odd sore head. People were dying. They had to do something about it.
A 5-year ban on all English clubs was imposed, with Liverpool singled out for longer treatment. English football entered a dark age. It was not until 1999 that another English club became European champion.
On the field, it made a big difference. England was the leading club in the European Cup at the time. English clubs had won it 7 times in the previous decade and a half. They were banned for 5 years, and nobody won it again until 1999. The reason was continental football had moved on, had advanced, and a whole generation of English players, or English-based players, didn't get the opportunity to hone their skills against them. So English football was set back a huge amount.